Well, would you look at that? The Colorado Rockies bouncing back tonight to win the second game of this series against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Your final score in this one, a close one. The Rockies win this game 2-1. When was the last time the Rockies won an ultra close, ultra competitive game like this one? Kyle Freeland was absolutely, positively phenomenal tonight. If you've listened to the postcast before, you know I was a little bit worried that maybe Kyle Freeland was going to start to fall off after looking pretty sharp from returning from the injured list. But he was in tip-top form tonight. And Brenton Doyle, what did we say last night? This guy needs to play every single day when he's healthy, and he delivered tonight for the Colorado Rockies. All right, let's break it all down on tonight's episode of your Locked On Rockies postcast, a victory show as the Rockies win tonight 2-1. Let's get into it, folks.
You are Locked On Rockies postcast, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is your Locked On Rockies postcast. Hope everybody is doing well out there on this Wednesday night, a couple of hours until we shift on over to Thursday, the final day of July. And the Rockies are going to end this month with a 2-1 victory over the Los Angeles Angels. You absolutely love to see it. And tonight's episode of your Locked On Rockies postcast, is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. And if you were out there in Los Angeles, look, LA is technically considered a rival city, although they were playing the Angels tonight and not the Dodgers. You had a treat on your hand. And games like this one, 2-1 ball game, good pitching on both sides. That is my type of baseball. I mean, look, last night was interesting. I know the Rockies lost 10-7. Had they won, probably a little bit more exciting. But sometimes it's just kind of like when there's so many runs scored, when you score 10 runs, you score 7, it's like, okay. Versus I love the strategy and the tension that is on display throughout these games that are close. And thankfully for the Rockies tonight, they escape with a victory 2-1. You love to see it. We'll spend a majority of the second segment here talking about Brenton Doyle. I want to switch it up. I usually do pitchers in the second segment, but I do want to lead with Kyle Freeland today as he was absolutely phenomenal. And we'll talk about Doyle in the second segment, the offense as a whole in the second segment. And then the great Thomas Harding of MLB.com had an interview with Rockies general manager Bill Schmidt about the trade deadline, his vision for the organization. I want to share some of those quotes, some of that insight from Thomas's story at the end of the program, as we also take a look ahead at what is next for the Colorado Rockies. But tonight, like I said, a good, clean, low-scoring game for the Rocks, as they improve now to 39-70 on the season. The Angels fall to 47-61. They're in fourth place in the American League West. And I opened up the show yesterday kind of making the comparison between the two franchises of kind of how, I kind of think the Angels are almost like the American League's version of the Rockies, right? A little bit different because of the market that they play in. But you want to just talk about most disappointing franchises in Major League Baseball over the last 2 decades. I'd imagine that the Angels and the Rockies are surely, without a doubt, in the top 5. Because you got to think about it, in the last 2 decades, right? The Tigers, who are arguably the worst team in Major League Baseball, they went to a World Series. They had those Justin Verlander, they had those Miguel Cabrera teams, right? So there was some action there. The White Sox, I can't really think of much positivity about the White Sox in the last 20 years. But point being, if you add it all up, the Rockies and the Angels are 2 of the worst teams in recent memory, I would imagine, here in Major League Baseball, just off of the top of my brain here. But, okay, let's take a look at how this game played out. And not a lot of scoring when the final score 2-1, although there was a decent amount of hits. The Rockies ended up generating 8 base hits tonight. The Angels had 6, so it wasn't like a 2-1 game with each team having 3 or 4 hits. There was some action on the base paths there tonight. But, you got to give credit where credit is due. Kyle Freeland tonight was absolutely dialed in for the Rockies from the jump. He was electric in this one. 7 full innings pitched. He allowed 6 hits, only 1 earned run allowed. And here's my favorite part of the night: 0 walks for Kyle Freeland. 0 walks for K-Free. You absolutely love to see that. The lone run of the game for the Angels was scored on a solo shot, and he also paired that up with 6 strikeouts in his performance tonight. So you love to see it from Kyle Freeland. Obviously, he's a fan favorite, the local kid. You know, everybody wants to see Kyle Freeland thrive, and nobody wants to see Kyle Freeland thrive more than Kyle Freeland himself. And like I said, his last time out was a bit troublesome. That came on the 26th of July. He went 4 innings pitched, 8 hits, 6 earned runs, gave up 2 home runs in that game, 1 walk and 8 strikeouts. So that was last Friday against the San Francisco Giants. And then he follows it up tonight, turning in an absolutely phenomenal performance for the Rockies here once again. 7 full innings, 6 hits, only 1 earned run, no walks, and 6 punch-outs. And a handful of those punch-outs were looking tonight for Kyle Freeland. I thought the umpire was pretty solid, pretty fair on both sides of the ball. Obviously a couple of close calls that went Freeland's way that I think helped him get to those 6 strikeouts tonight. But overall for Kyle Freeland, I think it's just nice to see him settle back into his groove. And look, let's see how he performs over his next 2 to 3 starts before we get too far ahead of ourselves here. But assuming that Kyle Freeland is able to lock in and turn in a similar type of performance as he did tonight, obviously it'd be nice if you can only give up 1 run and 6 hits per start, but odds are, you're going to have some of those tougher nights where you're giving up a handful of runs, right? Or you're giving up 3 or 4. There's a piece of tape stuck to my chair. Sorry, that threw me off for a second there. You expect some regression from Kyle Freeland, right? You don't expect him to be as good as he was tonight, but at the end of the day, anything around what we saw from Freeland tonight is going to be a recipe for success for the Rockies. And thankfully, the lineup did not spoil this one. They almost did. It was 1-1 there for a couple of innings before Brenton Doyle ended up punching the Rockies through and bringing them home in this one. But it is one of those situations where it feels, I think of like Ryan Feltner, who's had a number of quality starts this season that have resulted in losses, not even no decisions for him, because the Rockies lineup has just been that inconsistent and that bad throughout the course of the season. But, looking at Kyle Freeland, like we've said, guys, since coming back off the injured list, he's been absolutely phenomenal. He made 4 starts to begin the season before going on the shelf, and then made his return right around a month ago. On June the 23rd was his return from the injured list, and he has gone at least 6 full innings in each one of his starts, except for his most recent start would be tonight, but except for the one that we talked about, which was on last Friday against the San Francisco Giants. He went 6 strong against Washington. No earned runs in that. He went 6 2/3 against the White Sox. The Rockies won that game. He only gave up 2 earned runs in that one. He dominated against the Kansas City Royals. 7 full innings pitched, much kind of similar to tonight. 7 full innings for Freeland on the 5th of July. He gave up 7 hits, 2 earned runs in that one. Cincinnati, 6 2/3, 2 earned runs, 8 hits. And then the 20th of July against the Giants, 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 of them earned. And then the clunker start there on the 26th of July, where he only went 4 innings, giving up the 6 earned runs in that one. So the body of work for Kyle Freeland since coming back off of the injured list, like we said, guys, has been nothing short of phenomenal. Specifically for Kyle Freeland standards, who for the last couple of seasons, I feel like has been a bit up and down, maybe the injuries, the fatigue, I don't know, but there's probably a number of factors that have played into Kyle Freeland's recent performance and recent seasons for the Rockies. But all that matters is the present. And right now, Kyle Freeland is living the moment. He's dominating out there on the mound and is looking like a legitimate top of the rotation guy for the Rockies, something that they've essentially lacked for virtually the entire season. I know Cal Quantrill was good in the month of May. Ty Block had a little stretch there, 3 or 4 pretty solid starts in a row. But, Kyle Freeland's a guy that's pitching some big games. Obviously, I think to that wild card performance against the Cubs where he was lights out. And, Kyle Freeland has the stuff. It's the consistency now. So hopefully, the time off on the injured list, kind of recalibrating the mind a little bit, looks like it is working wonders for Mr. Kyle Freeland as he was on point tonight in the Rockies 2-1 victory. The Rockies do not win this game, not just without Kyle Freeland's effort, but the longevity from Kyle Freeland. For Kyle Freeland to be able to throw 7 full innings of work and only, have to leave 2 innings up to the bullpen. It was Tyler Kinley tonight and Victor Vodnik, both clean across the board. Neither one of the bullpen pitchers allowed a single hit in their outings tonight. It is just going to simplify things for the Rockies as they move forward. It's when you got to bridge the gap with your middle relievers and are asking for 2 innings out of these guys, and you're using 4 or 5 different relief pitchers because the guy that you bring in to relieve the starter doesn't have it tonight. That's where things tend to get out of control. That's where the Rockies tend to spiral here a little bit, but not tonight. So shout out to Kyle Freeland turning in a phenomenal performance in tonight's 2-1 victory over the Los Angeles Angels for the Colorado Rockies. All right, let's hit our first break. When we come back, we will continue along with the conversation. I want to get into Brenton Doyle's performance tonight. Only 1 hit for him, but it was a pivotal one and ultimately helped push the Rockies to victory. So you'll love to see that. We'll hit a quick break, come back, and do just that right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. Stick with us, folks. All right, y'all, let me tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks, because Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and unlike the other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become a part of the Prize Picks community today. And now you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You, yes, I'm talking to you, can turn $10 into $1,000. Get in on the excitement and win up to 100 times your cash with the summer games on Prize Picks. With Prize Picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 while watching Team USA rack up the gold medals this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup of players across basketball, soccer, tennis, golf, and more in as little as 60 seconds. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stats projections, and you are locked in. If you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has got you covered each and every week, from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. Prize Picks has you covered with all of the great promotions, guys, and Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks for a deposit match of up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy, folks, with our friends over at Prize Picks. Again, download that Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first-time deposit match of up to $100. Good luck, you guys. Let them know that Locked On Rockies sent you, and get your goodness in with our friends over at Prize Picks. Okay, welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. And real quick, just looking at the lineup here for the Rockies, Buddy Black up here at the, now the graphic changed. I should have paused my TV so I could have read it to you. But we're looking at the lineup. We'll get into it here in a second. Nice productive night from the Rockies. They only scored 2 runs, but 8 hits across the board for them. So, making good contact tonight was Colorado, but make sure to subscribe to the brand new Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube right now, appreciate you guys. If you're watching the next day in the morning, appreciate you guys as well. But make sure to subscribe to the Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. Football season on the horizon, basketball slowly creeping back up, and we're going to have plenty to talk about on the channel as well between the Buffs, the Broncos, and the Nuggets. So make sure to subscribe. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can do so at Media by AP. Okay. Spent the first segment talking about the pitching. Nice to see Kyle Freeland do his thing. And let's just take a look here. There's not much to dive into in regards to how the runs were scored tonight. But Chris Bryant. Hey, Chris Bryant. We haven't had a lot of positive things to say about Mr. Bryant here this season, or really his entire tenure with the Colorado Rockies. But he helped get the Rockies on the board in this one at the top of the first inning. An RBI single on a fly ball to left field. Ezekiel Tovar came around to score. You love to see that. And look, the Rockies jumped on the Angels starting pitcher, Davis Daniel, tonight from the get-go. Let's see here. Charlie Blackmon started the game off with a fly out to right field. But then Ezekiel Tovar hit a single to left. So the Rockies had a runner on with 1 out. After a Brenton Doyle pop out and a Ryan McMahon walk, which moved Tovar to second. as we mentioned, Kris Bryant doing his thing. I don't know what to expect from Kris Bryant. He's hitting 194 on the season, and he only has 12 ribbies on the year. So look, in 108 at-bats, we know that it has been a disastrous signing, but at least, look, we got to give credit where credit is due. Kris Bryant was productive tonight. Kris Bryant, the Rockies do not win without Kris Bryant tonight. So, nice to see KB at least contributing something of positivity to this Rockies club. But the big story here in this one is Brenton Doyle, in my opinion. And I tweeted it out as soon as this all happened. So be sure to follow me on social at Media by AP. Logan O'Hoop ended up tying this game in the bottom of the fifth inning. His 15th home run of the season, a solo shot off Kyle Freeland, the lone run of the night for the Los Angeles Angels. When I'm kind of sitting there after that, it's 1-1. All right, fifth inning, sixth inning, seventh inning. Like, are we going extra innings? Like, you never know what this Rockies team do. Do the Rockies somehow lose this game 6-1 or 6-2? Whatever it might be, we saw the Rockies blow a 6-2 lead the night before. So, anything's possible with this ball club. But they did it just enough. And Brenton Doyle, his 18th home run of the season in the top of the eighth inning, a solo shot to left field that puts the Rockies up 2-1, and they never looked back from this moment on. They're able to secure the final 6 outs of the ball game and I don't want to say cruise, but end up securing this victory, which you absolutely love to see. And they were talking about it on the TV broadcast. Like, is Brenton Doyle going to be the National League Player of the Month? He has double-digit home runs in the month of July. I mean, it just seems like every time he's up at the plate, he's got like a heat-seeking like eyewear on where he can track the ball perfectly into the strike zone and make great contact and do something productive, whether it's the single, the gap-to-gap double, or in tonight's instance, a big-time home run for the Rockies. Brenton Doyle has been absolutely phenomenal. And look, I know he didn't start yesterday's game, but ended up pinch hitting there in the middle. You love to see it from Brenton Doyle, who if you've listened to the postcast, what do I say? Brenton Doyle and Ezequiel Tovar. Those are the two guys that the Rockies currently have on the roster that I personally believe are the absolute truth. And two guys in Doyle, who's 26, and Tovar, who's 21 and 22 years old, that you can legitimately have a bit of an identity, a bit of a direction, a bit of hope and optimism attached to those two players. Now, they're only going to make up your 9 slots in the lineup. You got to try to get some protection around them. And like I said, we'll spend some time here on the trade deadline in the third segment, the final segment of the program coming up here in just a minute or so. But it is one of those situations where, for me, to see Brenton Doyle go out there tonight and just, do what he needs to do to help push his Rockies team and his teammates to victory, it just continues to confirm how good this kid is. And look, maybe it's just an anomaly. Maybe it's a hot month. We saw him, do some great things last year, but I think the body of work for Brenton Doyle this season has been phenomenal, and I love the clutch bone from him. And look, like we've talked about it before, sometimes it's easy for these guys to roll over. You're 30 games below 500. You're not even close to sniffing a spot in the postseason, and yet you come out there and you got a guy in Brenton Doyle who, could turn in if he wanted to, right? But he stays locked in, stays dialed in, and delivers for the Rockies in a massive way tonight with that solo shot there in the top half of the eighth inning that ultimately proved to be the winning run for Colorado tonight. So shout out to Brenton Doyle staying hot. Let's see, he's hitting 272 on the season. And the Rockies lineup, the middle of the lineup did their job tonight. I know they only scored the 2 runs, but Charlie Blackmon had a nice line drive single there later in the game. Ezequiel Tovar with a base hit, as we mentioned. He came around to score in this one. Brenton Doyle, who we just talked about, 1 for 4 tonight with 2 strikeouts, but the one hit literally could not have come at a better time. Ryan McMahon with a base hit tonight. Kris Bryant, as we mentioned, with an RBI tonight and the base hit. Brendan Rodgers with a base hit. Elias Diaz with a base hit. Jake Cave with a base hit. So, nice. I think, nobody had a multi-hit game for the Rockies tonight, but nice to see them kind of spread it all out, get some production from all up and down the lineup, top of the lineup, middle of the lineup, bottom of the lineup, and they get the runs that they need late in this ball game, that being a solo shot off the bat of Brenton Doyle, as the Rockies end up winning this one 2-1. You absolutely love to see it. All right, let's hit our final break. When we come back, it's already time to put a bow on the show. Final segment coming up. We'll take a look at what is ahead here for the Colorado Rockies. And I've got some excerpts here from Thomas Harding's article on MLB.com from his conversation with Rockies general manager Bill Schmidt, so we can get a little bit of an idea, a little bit of a feel about what Mr. Schmidt's thoughts are on how the trade deadline played at a rather quiet trade deadline for the Rockies, which is not uncommon. But I think the lack of moves, and again, we don't know these full packages, entirely, but I do think that the lack of moves is a little bit concerning, or rather just continues to fan the flame that is the state of delusion that the Rockies currently operate within. So stick with us. We'll hit a break. We'll come back and do just that right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. Back in just a few. All right, you guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Supply House, because you are going to want to get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product information to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business, and talk to a real person every time. I cannot stress that enough. I love that you get to talk to a real person. And this day and age, computers, artificial intelligence, it's dominating the world. Not with our friends over at Supply House. You're going to be able to talk to a real person every single time. Plus, pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to dedicated phone lines, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/T-M and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Once again, folks, be sure to check them out, www.supplyhouse.com. Shop Supply House for all of your plumbing, HVAC, and electrical product needs. Let them know that I sent you. Let them know that Locked On Rockies sent you. And good luck with all of your housing needs with our friends over at Supply House. Okay, welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. Hope everybody is doing well out there on this final day of July. The Rockies win this ball game by a final score of 2-1. If you want to follow me on social media, you can do so at Media by AP, and make sure to subscribe to the brand new Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel so you never miss an episode of your Locked On Rockies postcast, as well as all the other exciting stuff that we have coming down the pipes here with Locked On Sports and Mile High Sports. So we're looking forward to that. But okay, let's get this out of the way here real quick so we can talk a little trade deadline to wrap up tonight's show. Tomorrow's ball game, Thursday, August 1st, 7:38 Mountain Time, first pitch. It will be Ryan Feltner on the mound for the Rockies. He's 1-10 with a 4.99 ERA. And it'll be Carson Fulmer on the mound for the Los Angeles Angels. He is 0-2 this season with a 3.77 ERA. And let's take a look here real quick at Carson Fulmer's numbers. So he was surely a relief pitcher for a majority of the season because he's made a ton of appearances. But it looks like his last start came, it looks like he's made a handful of starts. July 14th, he went 4 2/3. July 21st, he went 4 2/3. And then his most recent start came on July the 26th against the Oakland Athletics. He went 5 2/3 innings pitched there, allowed 2 hits, 3 earned runs in that one, did allow a home run, 3 walks. So that's something to keep an eye on, as well as 3 strikeouts. So it'll be Carson Fulmer on the mound, the 30-year-old, tomorrow for the Los Angeles Angels. So we'll see what he can do. And as we mentioned, it will be Ryan Feltner for the Rocks, who's 1-10 with a 4.99 ERA. Feltner at 27 years old, looking at his last time out for Mr. Feltner, July the 27th on the road against San Francisco. He actually did his part, even though the Rockies were absolutely disgusting over the course of that series. The 27th, he threw 6 full innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run allowed in that one. Let's see here. 4 walks, which you don't like to see, but had 6 strikeouts. And that was really his second consecutive. He's been pretty good in the month of July, has Feltner. I know this is going to be an August start tomorrow, but July 2nd, Feltner went 5 innings pitched. July 8th, 7 innings pitched, only allowed 1 earned run in that one. Against the Mets on the 13th, he struggled 3 2/3. Bounced back against the Giants at home, 7 strong innings, only allowed 2 earned runs in that one. And then, as we mentioned last week on the road, really struggled. The Rockies struggled. He was good. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run. For the month of July, 28 2/3 total innings pitched for Ryan Feltner. Only 8 earned runs allowed over the course of the month to pair with 28 strikeouts. So we'll see if Feltner can turn in another solid performance tonight for the Rockies, and hopefully the Rockies lineup can support him in that one. But okay, before we get out of here, let's take a look at some of these excerpts here from Thomas Harding. And let me see if I can get these in chronological order. All right, let's start here because this is the big one. So this is from the great Thomas Harding of MLB.com. I highly suggest you go check out his work. If you don't follow him already, please do. He is the authority of all things Colorado Rockies for MLB.com. And he sat down with Rockies general manager Bill Schmidt. I forgot to label these entirely, so I apologize if some of these are being read out of order in which how they appeared in the story, but you'll get the gist of it. I want to just give you guys a little peek at how Bill Schmidt is thinking. Again, MLB.com, Thomas Harding. So I'll read it kind of verbatim here, and then I'll give you my thoughts. So here it is from Thomas Harding. Schmidt counts the last 2 deadline periods as a success because the organization has added multiple starters and relievers. As manager Bud Black has said on occasion, a team needs to enter a season with a minimum 8 starters capable of winning games in the major leagues. With free agent pitchers unwilling to choose the Rockies in Coors Field, the numbers accumulated through the draft and trade have to augment what the Rockies have. Schmidt is calling on the current players, some of whom Schmidt talked to other teams about, but either didn't receive or like the offers, to become healthier and better, right? So that's where you're looking at Chris Bryant. That's where you're looking at Brendan Rodgers. That's where you're looking at Nolan Jones, who's been a little banged up this year. So clearly Bill Schmidt doesn't think that the Rockies have lived up to their full potential. I personally just think that's living on a prayer myself, but that's how Bill Schmidt thinks. Continuing along here with the article from Thomas Harding. Here's a quote from Bill Schmidt. Quote, "We've got to get better, and we're getting closer to that. At the trade deadline, I like the arms that we brought in. We've got 7 weeks to show that. We'll look at some young guys and see how the offseason goes with that." End quote. After assessing the current team, Schmidt's mission is to make the moves to produce a team worthy of seeing and believing. Well, Bill, good luck, my friend. Good luck. And this is the frustrating part, is it doesn't matter if this team is worth seeing and believing. The Rockies are still going to, be a top half team in Major League Baseball as far as attendance is concerned. So, they're still going to draw. I guess that's my main point here. Continuing along, here's a quote from Bill Schmidt from the story from Thomas Harding at MLB.com. "You talk to teams and try to find things to match up with," Schmidt said. "Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Some other guys made decisions, short-term, long-term views of things. It wasn't from a lack of effort and conversation. Did we get to the finish line with some deals? No. But we got a feel for the value of some of our players. We're trying to get better." They're trying, folks. They're trying. And I've talked about this on Postcast previously as well. The Rockies are notorious. I have talked about this with people that have covered other teams, people that work in other front offices, whatever it might be. The Rockies are notorious for overvaluing their players. There's a reason why a lot of teams don't like to do business with the Rockies. There's a reason why the Rockies just don't do a lot of business in the trade market, period. It's because they're a pain in the rear end to deal with. They overvalue their players. The general league-wide consensus does not seem to apply with the Rockies in regards to how they do their business. So I guess we'll see. And then the final quote here, or the final excerpt from the story from Thomas Harding at MLB.com. "So Schmidt moves ahead, but he understands that after what will be 6 straight losing seasons, the Rockies must move forward quickly." Quote, "There are a lot of things people don't see," Schmidt said from the dugout at Angel Stadium before Wednesday night's game. "But at the end of the day, they've got to see to believe." Seeing is believing. And I've said this. I know there's some Rockies fans that are okay with them, with the lack of moves, whatever. What is Cal Quantrill's long-term? I shouldn't even say long-term. What is Cal Quantrill in 3 years with the Rockies? What is Ryan McMahon in 3 years with the Rockies? Heck, what is Brendan Rodgers with 3 years later with the Rockies? You've got Aniello Piro. And that's where I look at all this stuff. I mean, that was a depressing read when I read it for the first time. Again, Thomas Harding, MLB.com, go check it out. If I am of the belief that if you don't believe that this guy and this player and that player are going to be in close to peak form or in competitive form in 3 years from now, because that's when I believe the Rockies window will truly open once again, if they do things the right way, big if, why do you still have him on the team? What is Elias Diaz going to be in 2 to 3 years? What is Cal Quantrill going to be in 2 to 3 years? What is Chris Bryant going to be in 2 to 3 years? And now, look, I understand not all of these guys are tradable. Some of these guys are just, the Rockies are stuck with them. But that is the thought process that I subscribe to, right? And it's like, I almost to kind of make a comparison to the Broncos, right? Look, when the Broncos won Super Bowl 50, I think that they were well within their right to run it back the next year with that defense, even though there was no Peyton Manning, right? I thought that was okay. But the Broncos spent 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, heck, even last year in 2022, spinning in circles, thinking they were a quarterback away or this player away. And you know what the Broncos are doing this year? I've been at training camp darn near every day that training camp's been going on. They're embracing the youth movement. There's no Justin Simmons. There's no Russell Wilson, right? They're embracing the Pat Surtains, and they're embracing the Bo Nix and the Troy Franklins and the Greg Dulcich and Alex Singleton and Lil Jordan Humphrey and Marvin Mims and Javonte Williams, right? They finally have taken a look at themselves in the mirror and said, you know what? This ain't it. And the Rockies have been stuck in this purgatory phase where they're not aggressive in trying to rebuild their farm system. They're trying to plug and play guys on a game in and game out basis throughout the course of the season. And what has it led to? Absolutely nothing but continued disappointment. Their first 100-loss season last year, in all likelihood, they're going to lose another 100 games this year. And what have they legitimately done at the trade deadline to improve themselves? I can't say very much. They traded away a couple of relief pitchers, but guys that are decent or good right now that probably won't be very good or very serviceable in 2 to 3 years from now when the Rockies are expected to be competitive. Hopefully, they just hang on to them. I mean, we talked about it on the postcast earlier this week or earlier this season. Ryan McMahon wasn't getting traded because Ryan McMahon and Dick Monfort have a good relationship. Dick Monfort likes Ryan McMahon. That's the reason. And again, I don't know what the offers are. Maybe they weren't great. But at the end of the day, the loyalty of the Rockies organization is what's holding them back. And I'll end on this. I've said this before. The Rockies are an organization that does not play to win on a year in and year out basis. The Rockies are not trying to compete every single year. They've never won a division. They're not trying to win a World Series every year. They are typically top half in attendance. They're making good money. Coors Field is usually packed throughout the course of the summer. The Rockies do not play to win. The Colorado Rockies play to get lucky. Let me say that again. The Colorado Rockies play to get lucky because the attendance is there. And if they can make the playoffs 2 out of every 10 seasons, that's a win. Because the books are still good. Coors Field's still packed out. It's a family-friendly environment. At the end of the day, Dick Monfort is chilling. The Rockies do not play to win. The Rockies play to get lucky. What a depressing way to end a victory show. But 2-1 your final score tonight. Again, folks, follow me on social media at Media by AP and make sure to subscribe to the brand new Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. But that is it for me tonight. Kyle Freeland, great. Brenton Doyle, clutch. And a pretty disappointing trade deadline. Those are your 3 major takeaways for tonight's episode of your Locked On Rockies postcast. 7:38, first pitch on tap for tomorrow in the series finale between the Rockies and the Angels. Rockies looking to win this series. We shall see if they can do just that. But okay, folks, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night, and we'll talk to you mañana after the game between the Rockies and the Angels. Have a good one, folks.